guys, in this unit for MLA, we're going to focus on a couple different rules, specifically one that using colons to introduce quotes. Okay, so when you're introducing your quote, and we've talked about you got to authorize your information, what comes before the colon has to be a complete sentence. Okay, and then don't forget you still have to capitalize everything, punctuate everything in MLA format. So, in this first example, in channel firing, Thomas Hardy describes the corpses of dead soldiers being awakened by the war. That is a complete sentence. I got my colon. I got my capital. I got my citation. Author's last name. And period at the end. And here's what I want to point out, because some of you guys are going to be citing poems. Typically, we've talked about putting the page number there, but it says 1 through 4, so obviously that quote that I use doesn't take up pages 1 through 4. When you're quoting a poem, you put the line numbers instead of the page numbers. So that tells me that this quote that I used is on lines 1 through 4. In an article, much the same way we've already talked about. New York Times writer Christian Appy bashes Robert McNamara, the Secretary of Defense, during Vietnam. Complete sentence. I got my colon, quotations, capital. I don't have a page number, so I just put his last name, and my period goes there. Okay, I'm kind of worked in. Where is it? This part, the Secretary of Defense during Vietnam. So I worked on a positive phrase too. So that's something you could work on since you've been focusing on that skill earlier in the unit. People are always confused about how to do a quote within a quote. So if you find a quotation in an article that you really want to use, but the whoever wrote the article has already quoted it, you can still do that. So we have our introduction. New York Times writer Christian Appy quotes Daniel Ellsberg, a whistleblower during Vietnam. So there's my complete sentence and my colon. Now notice I'm telling the reader exactly who wrote the article I'm quoting and then who he quotes. So you got to be very specific about that. And then I give that quotation. Notice there's 3 of these guys. That's how you do a quote within a quote. Okay? And then I still have Appy, because that's who I'm quoting. I got the quote from this New York Times writer Christian Appy's article. So make sure you put the correct last name in there. And then you have your 3 quotes. Another example. New York Times writer Christian Appy quotes Robert McNamara, the Secretary of Defense during Vietnam. Got my colon. My quotations. My author's last name, my period. Here's what I did a little bit differently. This is telling me these are Appy's words. This is Robert McNamara's words. So notice I only use the single quotation because I've already used the double here. So what I want you to do, 3 different things. I want you to pull up any poem from the literature list, cite a quotation in MLA format, and use a colon to introduce it, just like I showed you on the examples. Number 2, pull up an article, do the same thing. And then pull up an article from the list, cite a quotation that uses another quotation in MLA format, and use a colon to introduce it. So that last one, you're going to do the quote within a quote thing. So let me know if you're confused about anything or need help with anything.